There's always something bad. All right, we are live. Well, hello everyone who's watching. Welcome to an author hangout with the queen of dark romance, as I say. I mean, I proclaim that for you. And it's been 2.5 years since you were on the channel, and longer than that since we've had a book from you, I believe.
Yeah, I've been writing for 2.5 years probably.
Yeah. Well, I definitely have I went back and watched some of our interview to see like if you were hinting at anything yet. So that'll be interesting. I have some questions about that. But
Okay.
anyway,
All
first
right.
let's say hello to everybody. Hi everyone. If you haven't been to one of these before, it's pretty casual. Literally, that's why it's a hangout. I mostly do them so I have a reason to talk to my favorite authors. That's why I started it. And I could record it for everybody else, and then it's work if I do that instead of just chatting with them. So I have a few pre-planned questions, but anytime something comes up, go ahead and throw it in the comments. And once I get through my list, then we'll go back to that and we'll just chat. We'll see what information we can sneak out of Pam anyway about what's going on. So, oh, and one other note, sorry, I was going to say this. We're mostly, we're not going to do too many spoilers, but right at the end, maybe I do have a spoiler banner when you see this, just potentially. I'm not saying we're going to ruin anything, but we might. So it'll be at your own warning if you want to stay. But I made that ticker just in case so we can throw it up. And I need to know some things. So I might get a little bit crafty about it.
All right.
But anyway, well, let's just start out. This is a good like icebreaker for us as well as the people watching. It's just like, I know you've been writing it so much and working on the editing and all this, but have you had a chance to read some stuff for yourself, and what have you been diving into?
I do read a lot, mostly fantasy. So I've just basically blasted through like Sarah J. Maas and Jennifer Armentrout, Ella Fields. I pretty much stay just in fantasy and paranormal. I have not been reading in probably the past month, which is really devastating for me because I don't watch TV, I don't watch movies, I don't do anything else. Reading is like my, passion. So to not do it is like it's like sucking me dry. But I'm working, like I'm working a lot. So I'm working like 20 hours a day now. So trying to get this book done. So as soon as like that's like my goal. Like as soon as I get this book done, I will pick up like another book. And I have my TBR is like so long because I've missed so many new releases. And anyway, long answer to your question.
I love that. Well, I remember seeing your like favorite books of the year, and I remember I think seeing some Sarah J. Maas in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's reading these. Like, those books never get old for me. So
no.
And I love seeing like, no matter how it feels like everybody's read them, there's still the people who haven't read them, and it's just as exciting.
Right. Yeah. I actually avoided them because I thought they were YA. And I don't think it even really matters what genre they are. They're just awesome. They're just really, really good storytelling. So
yeah, they're just fun. Like they're the ones like, I don't know. I think that we need as many possible stories that can be just fun and that they can be comfort read. Like I go back to read those when I'm like sad. Like I'll reread those ones because it just is like a comforting one. But yeah, it's always fun. One of my younger cousins finally started reading these, and you always get that text from the newbies that are like, oh, Tamlin's kind of fun. And I'm always like, oh yeah, he sure is.
Yeah, right.
You're like, oh, you're new here. Welcome.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I hope you reward yourself for a good long time of just gonna need it after this, I think.
I will. When the trilogy is done, that's all I will be doing is reading. So
yeah, I'm super excited. Let's see. We got some started Sea of Ruins, Sarah. Well, that's exciting. We definitely will come around there. Oh, we'll come back to that. We're not going to jump to those questions yet, but mostly just everyone's excited to be here. Perfect. Okay, we'll go through my questions here. So now, I always like to ask a few like writing questions. I'm trying not to just jump right into the new book, but I know last time too we did writing questions, but a lot of stuff has been different with that. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask, this is mostly I put this up for me. So last time we spoke, you were giving up deadlines and you were just going to write for yourself, which I am hoping that's what you've been doing here. So I'm just wondering if you feel like you were able to do that with this and that you gave yourself the full amount of time that you wanted for it to get
Yeah.
through.
So what happens when when I don't write on a deadline is I end up with a first book in a trilogy that's, 6 or 700 pages long. So that's what happens. Like deadlines actually force me to like put a book into a time frame and like end it. And yeah, so I that's exactly what I did for the last 2 hours. Well, since the last time I talked to you, 2.5 years, I have been just writing in the same story. So I'm glad I did it. I love doing that, and that's the only way I want to do it going forward. I don't know how readers feel about waiting, to 2 years, 3 years in between books. But now I am on a deadline because I released book one, and even though I started writing book two last year, I'm still writing book two.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, and book 2 releases, in a less than a month, and I'm still writing it. So, this stress, I
Oh,
don't do well with it. I just don't do well
well,
with it. So, it'll force what it does is it forces me to get it done. Like, it forces me to, like, not edit myself a million times over and over, and, it's still gonna be a good story. I'm not rushing it. Like,
right.
I don't do that. So,
Sure.
it'll be done, and it'll be done on time, and it'll be still the same quality that I always put out. The third book, I've not released a release date on, if you've
Right.
noticed that. I
Yeah, I
have not
did.
announced
I
that. There's a reason for that because my blood pressure can't take it. Like
did.
I have to be able to like write that third book. I won't make you wait a year for it, but you'll probably have to wait a few months for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Yep. No, I like that though. I mean, I think getting two books in 2 months is still pretty damn good for us after so long. So, and it was the size of 3 books. So one of my
Right.
current complete like on my channel, I talk all the time now of so many stories that are split into three for like you know. I'm not throwing shade at an author to do this who needs to make their money every month, but there'll be stories that are split into three that I'm like, you totally only split this into three so you could release three. Like it was one book, right?
Right.
Um, but people, when you're writing book to book for you're feeding your family, I'm not gonna cut
Well,
you
and
away
also as
from
long
stuff,
as readers are buying those,
right?
writers are going to continue to write them. So
Right.
we write, I mean, most of us write what readers want. And so readers are buying them. I mean, readers will buy up those trilogies with those cliffhangers all day
Mhm.
long, more than they'll buy up the standalones. So as long as readers are buying them, we're writing them.
That's crazy to me. I just like that's the thing too is I part of the reason that well, of course I was going to sign up for your ARC team, but part of the reason I signed up for it is I was like I need to make myself read it right away because otherwise I would have been like, no, I know it's going to hurt, so I'm just going to wait, but that wouldn't have been.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't read cliffhangers. I don't until they're all done, and then I just read it all as one book. So I'm the same exact way. And this is, I don't write cliffhangers. This is like out of my norm. But if I would have put this entire story in one book, it would have been, I don't know, 2,000 pages.
You would have written a manacle.
Yeah,
That's what
right,
it would be like.
right.
Three
Yeah.
360,000 words or 330, I don't know. It's
Wow.
330,000 words is how much that one is. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. But well, and I mean, after reading this first installment, like I feel like you couldn't have rushed my, because I'm reviewing and I'm like, what is there things that could have been,
Cut
but
out.
right, but
Yeah. I ask myself that question every single time I write. What can I leave out? I am all about economy of words. So I think that,
mhm,
as if you can say the same story in the smallest amount of words, that's like my goal.
yeah,
So when I ended up with 700 words, I'm like, well, shit.
yeah, yeah. But I
Or
mean,
700 pages rather.
people might be scared to start it when they see the page count, but once I started, I was like, "Oh, well, there's how many POVs in this one, and they're all important, so now I understand too." It isn't just one person's
Right.
view of everything. You're
Well,
adding
and I feel like if you read fantasy, I mean, I don't know, since that's all I read, fantasies, those aren't short books. None of them. There's world building. And this story that I wrote is world building because this is not like a default setting. Like
right.
nobody knows what it's like to be in the Arctic. I really had to build that world out, and that takes time. And also, 3, 4, 5 men in relationships with all of those people. Like I had to build all of that. It's not just a single couple, not just, 2
Right.
people. So
Right.
that takes a lot of development, and you can't get that done in,
No.
300 pages.
No.
So,
I mean, it felt too short when I was done with it, is the point I was
yeah,
getting, because I was
right.
like, I mean, I also have been telling people to encourage them to be buying this one, as I was like, if there's a natural kind of rest spot. I'm not saying it's a natural end. It still feels like a cliffhanger, everybody. I'm not trying to lie to you. But it also, when I was done, I was like, I need to breathe for a while. So it had a natural like rest spot anyway, in my opinion. Of course, my opinions on this, but because it was, yeah. Mhm. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. Questions getting here. Well, yeah, we're just going into it because it's the stuff I want to know, and everyone else is here to hang out and watch me too. So I want to know, um, like, where did this idea originate for you? Because I mean, through the very mild interactions I've had with you through the years, you've hinted at this one for a while, and I'm just wondering when it first was starting for you, and yeah, those things.
This is kind of a weird thing to say, but it's kind of a like a ripoff of my first trilogy. So I wrote the Eve trilogy. I don't know if you've read that one, but most people have not. And I've always wondered why, because it was like a why choose, and it was, a survival situation and a really fierce heroine. And it's like all the ingredients of things that I love in a romance.
Yeah,
And
tell me
nobody
more.
reads it. And so I thought, is it because I advertise it as dystopian? Is it because it's in this weird sci-fi kind of world and this setting? So that is what inspired me to write this trilogy. I thought if I write those same ingredients in a setting that readers will accept, then maybe it'll be a likable story.
That's
So,
so funny, because now as soon as you no, last time we were together for this, we talked about Blood of Eve, and,
okay.
that it's my only books of yours that I was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
But I appreciate it more now with distance. It was like when I was reading it, yeah, we talked about that I missed the signs of what was gonna happen, and I was like, "No, I didn't. I hate
And so you know what happened in that and how horrific it is, and then you know what happens, and so there's a lot of like the
Yeah,
same elements that I pulled from that story and put into this one to try to,
I definitely
still grasp those things I like, but also put it in a setting that, that readers might appreciate. And I've always wanted to write an Alaskan,
yeah,
story, like just the cold, and
mhm.
I'm always cold and I'm always hungry. So it was really easy for me to tap into those feelings.
I love that. I love that. No, I love this. I love survival stories and dystopian. So that's why when I found out about Blood of Eve, I was like, "Oh, this exists? What?" And then I was like, "Oh no, this isn't my thing here."
Yeah,
But this is my thing. This is my thing here
yeah,
for sure. Um, okay, so that's kind of where that came from. I like that idea though of taking, you're like, this people missed this. Let me try it again.
let me try it again. Yep.
Yeah, let me try it again. Let me up. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know how the stakes could have been higher than humanity. Like the stakes for humanity in that one, just telling everybody. But I was gonna say like the stakes are higher. And I'm like, they're not. Those stakes are pretty high. But I don't know. These stakes feel like it to me just because of I came to care for most of the characters, side eyeing a certain character that I won't say.
Right.
I came to care about them all so much that the stakes feel so high for where you lead it to. Okay, let me see. Nope, they're all enjoying it. Oh, when is the audiobook for this one being recorded yet? We talked about you love audiobooks, so
It's in production,
yeah.
and
You
it's a
obviously
duet
didn't
style.
Yeah. When we talked at Book Bash last year, you were like, "I wanna have all the audiobooks done so I can release them all at the same time," and I was like, "That must not have happened." You
Right. So, um,
wrote too much.
yeah, so it's been in like negotiation for a very long time. And
Okay.
I love my publisher. It's not my publisher's fault. It's just the scheduling for narrators
Yeah,
is a
sure.
really huge thing. So, but some of the narrators that I really wanted, I wouldn't have been able to release the audio until the end of this year. So
Ooh.
I had to really kind of compromise, and honestly, in the end, it didn't come out to be a compromise at all because
Yeah.
the narrators that I ended up getting are phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to announce them yet, but
Okay.
I'm super super excited. I got the female narrator is the one I wanted from the beginning. I got her, but
Good.
the male, he's doing all the voices, and he has such a broad range.
Ooh,
He does
I love
I'll
that.
give you some hints. He's an actor. He does, well, most narrators are, but he's like in some shows that are popular. He's done a lot of Sarah J. Maas and Jennifer Armentrout's dramatizations of their audiobook.
Ooh, okay. Yep.
So he does a lot of graphic dramatizations, and yeah, his voice is phenomenal. So anyway,
Awesome.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I absolutely love the trend towards more, like, duet narration too. I love narration all the time. But one of the things that I was just talking with my friend who is, re-listening to Harry Potter, and I was talking about the fact that Jim Dale does over 200 voices in that series,
right,
one person does. And I
yeah,
mean, I love when there's a full cast audio, it really makes it feel like the story's happening when each person has their own voice. But it is also cool when when an actor, a voice actor can do the voice so different that you can't, you know, it's hard to explain it. Like one of the examples I always give people is that like the narrator for Outlander, her voice of Jamie is what I hear in my head when I think of him.
really, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I love it.
Wow,
Like, it takes a while to grow on you, but I listen
yeah.
to it and like I hear her voice for his voice, the voice she does. Um,
Yeah.
and some male narrators that they just can't pull off the female voice.
Yeah, it can really make or break the book. That's why I was kind of, in the end, I told you I wanted it to be a simultaneous release, but there's no compromising on these voices. I mean, I could have had it done and out at the same time, but I had to find the right voice. So
I
here
love
we
it.
are.
Yeah.
It's in production, and also this is such a long trilogy, so many words. The production takes like 4 times as long. So
Can't even
keep that
imagine.
in mind.
Can't even imagine when most are between like 50K and like 80K, like normally, like
Yeah. It's gonna be a massive audiobook, the first one, and all of them will be. So it'll be worth your credit.
wow, I can't wait. I mean, I love those. Speaking on kind of the creative side of it, I wanted to ask this about the chapter headings for each of the characters. Who designed those? Like who made those?
I do. I did the cover art and the interior art for the whole trilogy.
I
Yeah.
love it. I was nerding out with
I
those.
did it like 2.5 years ago. So I've
Really?
been sitting on it forever. Yeah.
They're so beautiful. Me
Thank
and,
you.
Tiffany, she was reading this on her way to Sweetgrass, the book signing, and I was like, "Look at these." But something I was sad, Ashton, one of my viewers, her library copy doesn't have the designs inside, which is
So
sad. What happened?
it probably came from Amazon. So the way Amazon works, and I'm surprised that the library copy is that way, but maybe it came, no, the distribution came through Amazon on that. Probably it had to have been. So Amazon, the way Amazon works is, if since I'm not a KU author, I don't have my books in KU. I'm not exclusive with Amazon, so they nickel and dime me to death.
Oh,
And if I put headers in there, then they take like half of my royalties. Yeah.
wow.
So so for all my Amazon, whenever I load ebooks, to just the ebooks in Amazon, they take, yeah. So I have to load them without headers and without, graphics or anything. So
That makes
not
sense.
all of my library distributions come through Amazon, but there are some. And so that's probably how she ended up with that copy.
Okay. It came about because she was like, "Okay, I need you to tell me a thing." I've had a lot of people asking me like, "I need you to tell me a thing." And I was like, "Okay, I'll decide if I'm gonna tell you the thing." But one of them is I was like, "Oh, don't you love the art for Kodiak? I just love that one." And she's like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh no.
I was like, "Let me send you a picture of each one." So I screenshotted one of and I also said, "Once you get past a certain chapter, tell me there's a design I'll send you after you reach the chapter." Because I was like, I won't spoil that one for you. But I just think those were so beautiful. I was
Thank you.
analyzing what they might mean and the expressions on some of their faces.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I was picking apart the differences of everybody, because I love that. Well, that is so cool. I didn't know that you designed that stuff, but they're gorgeous. I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't design most of my covers. This one I tried to hire out and I couldn't get what I wanted
Yeah.
from
Very specific.
so I just did it myself.
Yeah. Like in the way in historical romances, you wait for the cover moment to happen. You know, like when they're like, oh, this is the scene that he's dipping her here. She's wearing that colored dress. When that scene on well, it's not a scene, but the image on the cover, I was like, this is not the time for me to want to recognize this. It was like, oh yeah, there it is. My emotions are absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna bitch about Amazon. I got a birthday present today, just an empty bag, a gift someone sent me. I got an empty Amazon bag because they didn't seal the fucking bag.
That is frustrating, and that happens a lot.
Yeah, they're so annoying. Well, and then too, with their they take forever to print the hardcovers. I pre-ordered your hardcover. It would be behind my head if it got here. It's not supposed to get here till Saturday, and I pre-ordered it.
So you pre-ordered it on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be a guaranteed pre-order. So yeah, all of my hardcovers I bought. So my hardcovers actually come from another printer, and they go through and they're distributed through Amazon and Targets and all the other places. I ordered direct from my printer is actually the one that slowed that up. So that wasn't Amazon, because I just now got my hardcovers in this week and they were supposed to come before the release. So
bummer.
it happens.
It's worth the wait. But that was what I think where I said that too, is that that's not the first book that's happened to. Like when I've ordered hardbooks, they take way longer to get here for sure. So okay, let's see. What else did I have here? Yeah, we'll do this one. So I think you've officially touched every third rail now after doing this book. So just wondering how you can balance the elements of the things in this. We're not at spoiler time, everybody, so I'm being nice to you all. But did it take you a while to figure out how you're going to balance that so it still hits because it's supposed to be horrifying? That's also, I say in my review of this, I was like, you're supposed to be horrified at the thing. If you were just like, oh, that's what it is, there's something wrong with you if that's how you feel. But just wondering how, when that part of it came to you, and yeah, the devil's bargain.
So I outline before I write every book. So I have outlined the entire trilogy. I knew exactly, what was going to happen, how bad it was going to be before I actually wrote the book. And when I outlined it, I actually outlined it to not include certain scenes, to just have them fade to black.
Okay.
And so when I came into writing those, after I'd, outlined and I'd, gone all the way through, I decided through a lot of thought that if I did a fade to black, then it was, I don't know, it didn't feel right. Like I felt like in order for it to really have the impact for the characters, for the reader to feel what the characters are feeling, I had to show it. I mean, I don't believe in shock value at all. I don't like that. I don't do that. But I do think that there's things that have to be shown, and a fade to black would have been a telling, I would have just been like, oh, this happened, and told you about it.
Right.
And it still would have been impactful, but not the feeling that you get that, I read horror. Besides fantasy, I read a lot of horror. And so in horror, this stuff is not left out. Like and that is for shock value. But sometimes there's just certain things, and you don't have to describe it in detail, but if you just show the things, like that scene in particular, the one I know you're talking about, just the hands touching, like that, like when the eye contact and the hands touching, I think that can just be so impactful. Yeah. So I tried to focus the scene on those things instead of what was actually physically happening.
Yeah. No, the words right out of my mouth. I think that the characters deserved us to have to see it. I know that's maybe I'm too into this, but if I'm like, if they had to live it, I could hear it described, I think, for a minute. I could do it because just, I don't know. This is a sidetrack when it comes back to this. I watch a lot of true crime stuff. So that's my real life
Because
horror. I read
right.
romance and I need happy ever afters always, but I watch true crime. And one of the things I believe with that is like the victims deserve people to know what happened to them because
The
they
story
lived it.
told.
Right. And I feel like, for all of the like whispers about what the thing is in this book, if we hadn't have seen it, it doesn't feel that it's as big as it really is.
Mhm.
Even though like that is like you hear what it is and you're like, oh, that's the most evil thing. But have you seen it? Do you
Right.
understand the cost? Because once you see that, you're immediately like, shit's going down. Like,
Yeah.
and once you see it, you're like, I 1000% know what's going on here now, and I'm on board. So,
Yep. So yeah, that's kind of what my thought process was going through it.
yeah, I love that. Okay, I was excited to get into that. It's just so, yeah. I'll put up the spoiler tag at the end because I have more to discuss with that, but I don't want to be
Okay.
mean. So we'll take some of the lighter questions that for people to get to know them. So, what's a favorite scene? Oh gosh, and now I'm leaving. Is there anything that was fun to write in this book?
I love writing suspense, so I feel like every tiny little suspenseful moment was just fun to write. Like the buildup, and I like to write scary without like splatter gore. You know what I mean? So like just the you know the bad guy standing over by the slaughterhouse, like meeting her eyes, and she's like looking at him, and she feels like the creepiness all over her body. Like I love writing that stuff.
Yeah,
It's just, you know what I mean? Like just
yeah,
the buildup of just the feeling him enter the room, and you know that there's something wrong, but you can't put your finger on it. I
yeah.
love that is the stuff that I find so much fun to write.
This book was so atmospheric of that. Absolutely. This took me 3 days to read, which I know it's big. Okay. For most people, they'd be like, oh, that's short. No, for me, that was a long time because I got to two specific spots where I would read that spot and I was like, I am done for the night. I'm going to put that book down and I'll pick it up in the morning. And I did that 3 days in a row because I was like, at the last night, I had like 10% left. And I was like, I know this is going to be a cliffhanger. So I'm going to switch over to my alien romance I was reading. I'm gonna switch to that, and in the morning we'll finish this because I couldn't have it be the last thing that I read before I went to bed. I literally
I
was.
don't blame you.
I think you did such a good job with the atmosphere of it because there's just the foreboding is there the whole time, and that the the stillness of the evil, I guess.
Mhm.
The evil with the with a pretty face.
Yep. Insidious, very insidious.
Yeah, it's that just like what could be wrong about this? So, oh, everybody's just excited. Guys, I love this shit. I told you I didn't do this interview because I want to talk to Pam. So you guys are along for the ride for this. So, okay, and then where did these characters come for you? Who was first? And like, you know, how'd they come to you? And what were some interesting aspects you discovered as you were writing them?
Well, I knew I needed a comic relief because of the heavy content. So that one was an easy no-brainer. And he was actually inspired from, I don't know if you've ever watched Umbrella Academy.
I haven't.
Klaus. Okay, so Klaus and Umbrella Academy. I've only seen a few episodes, but I don't, like I said, I don't watch TV. But I've seen it, my husband watched it and I saw him like on screen. I'm like, he is hilarious in a really dark way. I love it. That is, I need a character like that.
Yeah.
I always have wanted to write a Viking romance, so I had to have some kind of Viking character. And then, of course, like, the lumberjack guy, which, can't really be a lumberjack because there's no trees in the Arctic.
I know. I know. That part's really hard to grasp, to be honest. Like
Yeah,
hard to grasp what.
there's no vegetation, there's no anything but snow and ice.
Yeah, it's
So
terrible.
how did they build a house there?
I know, I mean, you'll find out,
You will
maybe,
find out.
if
You
that
will
person's telling
absolutely.
us the truth.
You
That's
will
the
find out.
thing. That's the thing you don't know, guys, going into the second book is like, what truth were we even told? There's confessions that happen, but are they even true? Like,
Right.
Well, I don't know. We can't check them currently. But yeah, that's terrifying. Where did like Frankie come from for you? Is she kind of that like Eve character, or did you just take the idea of that? Like
Yeah,
where?
she's my Eve character. Just a little bit more reckless, I think, a lot more reckless.
Okay.
She's kind of, acts first and thinks about it later. She's more vulnerable. I think my Eve character was very strong and level-headed and just ferocious as hell. And she cries, she cries a lot and she gets upset and she makes mistakes and she's a very flawed person, but also super strong. I think that most women can relate to her,
Oh yeah.
in different ways. So
Yeah.
she needed to be a nurse because of obvious reasons.
Yes. Always good. Always. Yeah. Always good to have one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also the comparison of that too is like I'm not saying her life was easy, but for the last little bit, she's been living a cushy life anyway,
Oh yeah.
forever. But like, whereas your Eve character already was in the shit when, she's already had to like survive some stuff. But, things are pretty cushy with their rich husband on their private island and all
Hmm.
that good stuff. So,
Yep.
okay. So, because we're going to do spoilers in the second half, I'm going to switch back to other book because people have some questions about other books.
Okay.
And then those of you who want to run away for now until you read the book can come back to watch it later. But of course, the question we always get, which I don't know if you'll even like want to answer this when you're in the middle of writing these, but of course we have when is the Sea of Ruin world getting expanded, and will it?
So yes, it's coming. The when is next.
Right. Oh, yes, I did. Where'd it go? Sorry. Anyway, whatever. I just asked it because that was 2.5 years ago. It was also it's after this trilogy.
It's after this trilogy. So I would like to remind everyone that it took me a year to write Sea of Ruin, and it's going to take me another year to write a sequel because I will write it as large and as thorough and detailed as the first one. And that is a lot of research. And I already have it outlined. I already know like where it's taking place and the conflicts and everything that's going on with it, the characters. I already know everything. It's just it takes me a really long time to write it. So I had hoped to start writing it this summer,
Sure.
but I think after I finish this trilogy, I'm going to need a really good long month break before I start again. So probably start writing it this fall. So maybe next year you'll have it.
That's okay. It's okay. Would you ever write a comedy?
No, unless it's a dark comedy.
Sure. Have you read Butcher and Blackbird?
I have not. No.
Okay.
I don't really read a lot of dark romance. It's funny. I mean, if I do, it's going to be horror. But no, I don't think I'm funny enough. But I think I could maybe do a dark one. I don't know.
I was thinking of that if you had read that one because of your note in the beginning where you're like, except there won't be cannibalism, and you're like maybe, and that one has accidental cannibalism.
Oh, nice. I mean, I could get behind that. I mean, I love Jack Ketchum, and he wrote like a family of cannibal children. So,
oh my gosh, that's terrifying. That one was that one's a dark comedy of two serial killers who it was
I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, I bet it was fun. I didn't know what I was getting into, but I was like, I can handle serial killers, no big deal. And I laughed so many times. Like it definitely still has the dark stuff, but it's humorous enough of like we can't only take ourselves so seriously, I guess, in it, which I'm like, all right, sure, that works.
Nice.
Planning to kill people all the time. Okay. There was more in here. Oh, someone asked this question. Do you know any poly people in real life?
Not like openly people. Yeah, I mean, I have friends and stuff that do different things, but I am not involved in any of that. I have been married to my husband for a very long time, and we are very monogamous.
Good, good. I mean, it's one of the I think a lot of poly romances written are more to the fantasy anyway. Not
Mhm.
that they don't happen, not that there aren't people living them happily, but
Right.
you know, they're to balance people's jealousy. Like you can't have super possessive people usually and make a threesome foursome work. It's difficult.
Right. No, I agree with that.
And do you if people want the passionate fated mate type of love, you can't always have a third person coming
Yep.
along, although that can be fun. Ooh, this one's good, Taylor. Have you ever had a crush on one of your teachers?
Me, no. Gosh, no. No, unfortunately, because they're just no. I went to Catholic school until, high school. So I had a lot of priests as teachers, but no, they were old and no.
That's so funny. I mean, it's a good question. I
That
definitely
is
did.
a good question. You did?
Yeah. When I was in ninth grade, we got a 22-year-old math teacher. He just graduated, and he was only 8 years older than us.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we
Yeah,
were
I didn't luck
we were
out
his
with
first
that.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everyone else was old when I
Right.
was
That was my situation.
yeah, my teachers were all old and they'd had like my parents and stuff like that in the small town that I'm from.
Right.
Yeah, we got a hot teacher my year,
That's awesome.
which is why I ended up going through calculus, even though I was horrible at it.
Well, look at you. That's great.
Could I regurgitate any of it? No. Here's the dirty secret though. And when I was all done with school, like I've talked to him since then, like really what calculus does, everybody, I blow it. One of you is going to be a math in STEM and say like, you're wrong. It teaches you problem solving. That's what calculus does.
It teaches you logic.
How do you take it apart?
I did win there was what is the word for it? There was like a prize. I worked at a company and there was a prize. There was like a huge like container filled with M&Ms. And I was a math major, by the way.
Oh, that is awesome. Okay, we'll see.
So there was like a huge container and I used calculus and solved it and got like I was off by like a handful of M&Ms count and I won a trip to Greece. So
Wow. Okay, well that was
in some situations. The volume of a cylinder.
That's awesome. People had said like, don't try to do that, but yeah, I did that. Mostly it's because we got college credit for that class, so I took it anyway, and he was a good teacher. But that's
Awesome.
I barely even passed it to get the college credit. You had to get a C+ or higher, and I barely got it, but it was okay.
You got the hot teacher
I
to look
did.
at the whole time.
It was great. It was great. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here's one of the. Which of the brothers is your favorite? If you have a favorite.
I mean, I think it's probably Cody. I have a thing for virgin tortured male heroes.
Do you? I didn't know.
I really do.
I wouldn't notice. Yeah, I think he's currently my favorite too. We got a long way to go, so I don't know, but he's kind of my favorite buddy. He's the most rational, in my opinion. He's the most rational up till now.
Yeah, he's got a level head on his shoulders at least.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's most of the questions here because I really want to get into some deeper stuff. So let me just see. I don't want to keep you all night. We're already 40 minutes into this too, since it sounds like you're not sleeping very much. So
that's all right. This is a nice break.
Right? Okay, everybody, I think that's it. I didn't see any more that were really there. So I'm going to put this up. Well, wait a couple minutes. You have time to flee. But thank you for joining us. Go read the book, and then you can go back and watch this. We obviously won't go full spoilers, but there are some of the darker stuff I want to talk about. So if you don't want to know those things, you should go. Highly recommend you don't know because I won't say it's more fun, but it gives you a better experience if you don't. So, yeah. Okay. So I think this works with a question that I had of like, so you've written where the villain gets the girl a lot of times. That happens in quite a few of your books, or people they're an anti-hero, let's say, right?
Right.
So one of the questions I love to ask is like, if there are things people can't come back from, right? And I talked about this last time with you about the Deliver series, because Tiago has probably the sharpest, you know, whether he's fully redeemed or not, that's up to the reader to decide. But then we enter, and I'm this person. I don't know. See, it's so hard for me to spoil something. I don't want to actually spoil.
Yeah,
something.
I know what you're
like
asking though. Like, is this the villain I didn't think could be redeemed? Is that
right? And also like, where did I know I asked like where the inspiration for people came from, but where did his like demeanor and the type of man he is like come from?
So it goes back to what you were saying, is that I write a lot of villains and I redeem them all. No, I have not redeemed them all. I have, I don't know if you've read Beneath the Burn. I did not redeem the villain in that book, although I do still get emails from people asking me for his HEA, even though that's not possible, but the way it ended. Anyway, but I thought about always wanting to write down the path of this horrible villain that looks like he could possibly be redeemed.
Right.
And then show you absolutely this cannot happen with this person.
Yeah.
So that's where the idea came from. So I wanted to lead a path of, you expecting, first of all, I wanted you to fall in love with a villain.
Yeah.
And then
you
I wanted
him a POV. He has a POV, the first one. So
yeah, they always like when I was learning how to write, I was always told to don't kill off a character until the reader falls in love with the character.
Okay.
So I thought about applying how I would apply that to the villain. Don't turn him into a villain until the reader falls in love with the villain. Right. And I don't really sell it like completely, because I didn't want to make you feel like really gross.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So I tried to at least like give you these hints of he's really charming and he could be redeemable, but there's still this oily, greasy in the air around him. Like, yes.
He makes certain comments, about the villain specifically.
Yeah,
that was my first hint. My first hint was like,
did you figure it out? Did you figure out like?
Okay, I did, but I didn't believe myself. So you did really good, because I did, when he made a few comments about the men, he would say like, he's my beautiful boy and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. But I also wasn't sure if he did want to like share her with them. Like if he was like, hey, I like the lady, I didn't know. And he was like, that's why they need to fall in love with her, so that could happen.
Yeah.
But when I was like, does he want that to happen? And then I was like, no, she wouldn't. And then I'm like, well, you forgot who you were talking about, Jen. Yes, you would.
Yeah.
So, yep. And then he lulled us into that we're safe. And also, I think it's like they've watched the games he's played for so long. And like, she tries to understand. Frankie's smart. She tries to understand, but she still doesn't fully take the threat level that they're trying to.
There's some complacency there that happens as they settle in.
Yeah. Like, it's hard to word it, whereas like, she's smart. I love that she was smart. I love that she's always trying to figure it out. Like, she's trying to get more and more information. And then, it's like, well, shit, did I really want to know?
Right.
But yeah, so that's it. I did figure it out. But also, I think I did know maybe what the trigger warning was just by not knowing it. I kind of thought it was. And it goes
wondered if that would happen, the process of elimination. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, again, like I was then kind of a little prepared. And then when I was right, I was like, I didn't want to be right. But also at the time when it's revealed, there was nothing else it could have been. Because it's kind of like, what else could keep him alive still if he's so bad they want to get away, but he seems so nice? There's got to be something, like, because these men aren't irrational. Like, they're not, like, Cody and Leo aren't irrational, so anyway, I'm probably not making sense, but that's okay.
No, I totally, trust me, I've talked myself in circles for 2 years on this. I would lay in bed at night and just think about how I would respond in a certain scene, or like all the different ways that a person might react. Like, I just tried to think of every different way, because you just don't know. Like, you don't know until you're in that situation. Like, what would you really do
Yeah.
in each thing that happens? And there's a lot that happens. Like, each time something changes or a piece of information gets revealed, like now everything's changed again. Like, now how would I react? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm still going through that, because the trilogy doesn't end with book one. You know, it's like there's so much coming.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Oh my gosh. Well, and also the reveal in this one does like two things to me. Not only does it fully be like, okay, this isn't going to be a why choose in that way. Which I was like, that's not happening. But it also, to me, fully cemented how much I loved the other three characters then. It was literally this full switch of like, whose side are we on?
Right.
You now have a side. Yeah, you now have a side.
Mm-hmm.
The side is there, but we're still stuck here. Was that hard for you to fully trap everyone there? Like,
no,
without, not like, oh, hard to do, but I mean, like, logistically, was it difficult to find a place where you could honestly?
Well, that's why I picked the Arctic, because it's like a prison without walls, right? So they can't go anywhere. They can't do anything. There's a lot of world building just involved with with the polar nights and the cold and the logistics of keeping a fire and all of that stuff. I tried not to be too tedious in those details, but I think a lot of them are important to know how you survive in a situation like that. But no, I feel like the hardest part is what happens in book 2, which I'm not going to spoil anything. So it's just, there's a lot that, I'm just going to shut up because I can't say anything. The hard part is what I'm writing at the end of book 2. So that's the hard part for me.
Okay.
Book one, keeping them in one environment was awesome.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's just when you stand out from that one place and because they can't stay there forever. They have to figure it out. So
right.
That gets complicated.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, it's what I love so much about, well, again, it's hard because it's not done, but I know it will be good at the end. But I mean, what I loved so much about this and why I was able to read, I wouldn't normally read a thriller that was like this, or I wouldn't read a horror that was like this, because I don't trust the authors not to kill everyone that I love. And but I was able to get through this because I'm like, well, something's going to be happy by the end. It's not any of this stuff, but something.
Yeah, it is a happily ever after.
Yeah,
it is a happily ever after. This is not Blood of Eve. This is going to end with a happily ever after.
Yeah.
So, although I would still argue that Blood of Eve was kind of a happily ever after because the guys were still together, but
yeah. I'm less bitter about it now. It's been 3 years. I can appreciate it for what it was now. At the time, I bawled my eyes out. Like, I couldn't sleep because I gave myself a headache from it. So, yeah. But I'm better about it now. It's like, that's pretty cool. I get it. It's pretty cool. But yeah, for this one, so another thing to talk about, we're in the spoiler part again. Okay, I could say this. So one of the things that me, being someone who has heard you like give hints about this series for so many years, is I remember you like telling me this was an MMF story in Alaska. That's what I heard as brief snippets from you. So when I got like the list of like things in the book and it said why choose, I was like, what's happening? Did she add a person? What's going on? So then one of the other things I figured out, I'm so smart, is once we reached a certain point, I was like, okay, I know what that throuple is going to be. I don't know who's going to put up with it, but I know it's going to happen. So that was interesting. I don't know what my question is. I have a question about this, but talk about it.
Go ahead.
No, that's my thing. Is I was like,
that's your thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So just just a comment on the labeling. Like, I'm so reluctant to give labels to my books because it kind of locks you into this idea. Like, if I call this a white shoes, then white shoes readers are going to come in and be like, all the sex all the time with all the guys and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Or if I say it's not a white shoes, then a reader who doesn't like, that option, they're going to come in and be like, oh, but there wasn't, this happened and I didn't like that relationship. You've read Sea of Ruin. So, would you call that a white shoes? Like,
well, not to me. To me, that's MMF. Like, people call white shoes. To me, I would consider an MFM or more white shoes. To me, I'm not the person who decides tropes, though. Like, for me, I very much see an MMF as I see that as a monogamous relationship to me, whereas the other ones, it feels more like she gets to have multiple relationships and they're just okay with it.
Right.
So I personally was very excited with MNF because I want everyone to love each other. I've always said that. So that's me. And I was happy to know that. But yeah, I see that. That's a puzzle.
So I feel like a reverse harem is like, it's 3 or more guys, 3 or more, not 2 or more, 3 or more with a woman.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of always hesitant to use even that with any of because I've written multiple white shoeses. I feel like a white shoes it's not a love triangle, it's a white shoes. So she's not choosing one guy over the other or 2 guys over another. It's a white shoes. She's choosing multiple relationships. So and that's why everybody's mind, they have a different perspective of what that means. So if you say this is a white shoes, or if you say this is a reverse harem, or this is a love triangle, because really, like, if you look at book 1 of this series that I just wrote, that is a love triangle, right? That's what that is.
Yeah.
But if I called it a love triangle going in, then all the people who hate love triangles wouldn't even touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
So, but kind of that's really what it starts. So that's why I'm so reluctant to put labels and tropes on books. So I didn't do it with Sea of Ruin. I basically said, people would ask me and I would just be like, read it. I'm not telling you. And I don't know if that hurt the book or helped the book or helped you guys, or I don't know. But I feel like if I would have gone into Sea of Ruin saying it's an MMF or it's a white shoes or whatever, then it would have been, it would have eliminated possibly people who would have loved it and didn't read it, right? So
it was a surprise to me. Like, I didn't know, but also I'm the one who usually reviews it for other people. So I didn't know, and I was just like, oh my gosh, she's gonna have to pick. And I was like, she doesn't have to pick. Oh, right. I'd only read like 1 or 2 of those up to that point, so was not expecting that. But I get it. People are so picky about it now, and that's something too I wanted to bring up in this conversation, is because last time we interviewed, you had talked about you don't do trigger warnings in the past. You never did, and you left it up to reviewers to do that for people. And with this one, times have changed, and also this has different types of triggers. So how is that for you? Because I feel like you did leave it really broad too, which is helpful. You put a whole list of things and it's like, is this a big one or is it a little one? I don't know.
So I have avoided trigger warnings in the past, mostly because Amazon bans me a lot. And I don't know if I mentioned that in the interview or not. Since we've been bashing Amazon, I'll just go ahead and say it. Amazon sucks. And so Amazon bans me when I use trigger warnings. So this time I decided to use a QR code. And I don't know if you saw that.
I did. Yep.
And the book is still live. So maybe that works. They haven't banned me yet. So I feel like I should go back into all of my books and use a QR code and just put a QR code in so that there's the warnings. I mean,
I love that.
People are way more sensitive now than, I'm old. I'm of the generation where there were nudie bags laying on the coffee tables. There's no trigger warnings there. You're 5 years old, you pick it up and see a bush. I mean, that's that's the generation that I came from. But my children are not in that generation. My children require trigger warnings for all the things. And I get it. I mean, it's just, I'm good with it. I just have to do it in a way that keeps my books on the shelves.
Right. No, I really agree. Because I had some really good conversations bringing that up of how times have changed. Because for me, who I don't really have what people call triggers. I don't have them. I have certain things I want to know if it's in a book, but it doesn't stop me from reading a book if it happens. So like my two, any loss of a pregnancy, I would like to know it's going to happen. And also harm to animals, I would like to know if it's going to happen. So I did read the first layer of your trigger warnings. I like the double layer thing. So I was like, okay, I know this is happening, because it doesn't spoil things for me. Like, I know that it is a spoiler, but like, it doesn't spoil an experience for me. It makes it better because I'm like, okay,
You're
I know
prepared
not
for
to get
it.
attached to this. You know, I'm like, okay, don't get attached to this animal, or don't get attached to this pregnancy. This
Right.
might not stay. And then that just helps me. But for the most part, this conversation I was having is things that people consider triggering. I think they're supposed to hurt. Like, they're supposed to hurt when you read it, right? And that's something when I look back at how it was when I was first starting reading dark romance, which was like Anna Zare's, and which was some of your books, and which was who was even really dark then? I don't know. I read some mafia back then.
Lisa Romick, C.J. Roberts.
Yeah.
A
Oh,
few of
yeah.
them.
Yep. And starting to read some of those, and just like you couldn't look away from the page because they had the horror element in it. It would feel that way. It's like, oh my gosh, he's kidnapping her and like keeping her. Like, what is happening? You know? And now those things are what sell the book to a lot of people. Because that's the thing that I say to authors who are like, oh, it's spoilers to me. It's like, but it also sells the book to people. Like, for me, the trigger warnings don't scare me away. I'm like, oh, there's spit play in here. All right, I'm gonna pick that one up. Or, oh, there's bondage in here. Oh yeah. So if that's like a trigger warning to some people, others of us, it's our shopping list of the things that we
Right.
want.
The downside to it is that it's just a bunch of flags for Amazon to say nope, 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 out of here.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with them.
Because they don't do it to all KU. Is it because you're
No,
not
it's
KU with them?
for me, I've been banned so many times that they started banning my books on the pre-order. So before I had even loaded the book, so Sea of Ruin was banned before it even went live. I hadn't even loaded the book yet.
Wow.
And this is me not putting any trigger warnings or anything in. They were just banning. So some of my cowboy books are banned before lots of my deliver books. So they know, like, Pam Godwin is my brand, is submitting a book. And if they read anything in the blurb or anything that they might, and my blurbs are very vague. I don't put anything. I know what words not to use. I've been doing this for 12 years, 13 years. I know what not to put in there. But I found that if I don't put any trigger warnings whatsoever, no warning at all, then they won't ban it. So
okay, that makes sense. They're kind of like they're cock blocking you before.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Amazon reps on the phone. They've told me that they actually go to my product page. If there's stuff that's not listed, they'll go to my website product page and look and see, they'll actually read through the book. I'm sure they have AI doing it now, scanning the book for different words and things. So I don't know how detailed it is now, but I know that I still get my books pulled.
That is crazy. That's crazy to me. But well, either way, I love when authors have it on the website anyway, because then you have the choice either way. I will sometimes get halfway into a book and then be like, is this thing about to happen? And I'll go look at a trigger page.
Okay.
So I don't know, but that's just so, I don't know. They're dumb. Like, they're making money off of you too. So why they got to be bitches about it? Anyway, okay. I don't know where I'm going, but anyway, I've totally derailed from it even being spoilers about this. But what are some hints at the next volume? Let's go with that.
Some hints at the next volume.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you get answers. I don't really know what to say. Like, I don't want to give anything away to ruin the experience. What do you think is going to happen? How about that?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think I know how they're related.
Tell me. Do you want to tell me?
Yeah.
I can keep a poker face.
Okay. I think they're all half cousins. That's what I think.
Okay.
I think that Denver was taking his brother's ladies. That's what I think was happening. That's my personal from what I've got, because at the very end, you know, we have that POV from
Monty.
And I believe there's mention of another brother too.
There is at the end. Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, because also one of the things, I just stressed her out with the questions. They're like, I know I have things, is he's been doing this since he was in his early 20s. If I do the math right, because Leo's 30 or close to 30, he's 48. Like, he's been doing this a long time. And I wonder, you know, and why there would be big weights, why Monty got snipped, why he's mad she was pregnant. Like, all that stuff comes back to me later on now, especially when you find out what he was doing with the babies, that they're the babies, the boys are the babies. That's what I think. I think he gets a kick out of it, or, you know. So anyway,
Okay.
that's my like hypothesis. I don't know the how or the why, but I think that because he was waiting a long time. Like, this happens at the beginning, everybody who's done, you know, hopefully you're all people who've read it. He watches her and Monty for a while. He has the cameras, he's watching. I think he was waiting till she was pregnant. I think he was waiting for it. My personal thought on that. So, because he waited an interesting time. So, and Monty was just so upset. Like, you're supposed to just think he's an asshole. Like, you just think that he's bad. But I'm like, what if it actually terrifies him that she was pregnant and not just being an asshole? So anyway, I'll stop making you have to have a poker face. But
so I can tell you a hint on Monty in particular is that he has quite a more presence in the second book and has with his own point of views.
Okay.
So as things are happening in the Arctic, you'll be in Monty's point of view, understanding what's happening with him and how everything merges together. So you'll get answers. So even though it appears that all of the answers died at the end of book 1, you'll get he left a riddle, riddle, which is the title of book 2, and you'll get the answers with that riddle. So
he's such a fucker. I hate him so bad. I hate him so much. Nobody more than me just wanted that gun to have a bullet in it. I'm just saying. I wanted
do you think that she was just, I mean, do you think that a lot of times when my villains get their payback, the readers aren't as happy. Like, they want it to be worse. Do you think that this was bad enough? Like, do you think his payback was justified? Or do you think it should have been worse?
I mean, I definitely think it would have been worse, but I also am glad it's just gone. I'm glad he's just gone. He can't, well, he's still going to play games with them beyond the grave. Of course he is, because he's fucked them, literally, and also get them there. But also, I'm glad he's just gone. So, like, I'm okay with it, because also that's your problem to figure out how they're going to get out. I just get to read about it. Like, I know they're going to get out eventually. So I was glad he was gone. I was like, I know this is doing bad things in the short run, but I'm glad that he's gone. So I wish it had been more painful. He didn't have to starve to death and suffer or be eaten by a bear. I wish he'd been eaten by the animals they represent. That's what I want. Maybe they still will do that. I want him to get eaten by a bear and a wolf and a who's left? A bear, a wolf, and a lion. There are no lions there, but I want them all to. That's what he deserves. That's what he deserves. But I also find it interesting that Monty is a horse. I want to know what that means. I want to know why he's a horse. And I, in my own mind, think that Denver was a hawk or eagle. I couldn't tell which he is because they're scavengers, and like they wait till someone else has made the kill and then they take from it. And that's what I was getting. That's me digging into it, because I was like, oh, this is such a regal thing. And then I was like, wait, birds pick at they're waiting.
Birds of prey. Well, the scavengers, I mean, hawks and eagles eat live prey, but mostly, I mean, Denver was the wings. He was the wings in the book. So he was.
That makes sense too. I was looking for more layers to it. That'll work in my head. But
I have a lot of layers in the books that I put a lot of Easter eggs in. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, like their names and stuff, everything has a meaning.
Oh yeah. If you
dig deep enough, you'll find.
I also want to know. So I want to know where what city the other brother is. I don't know if that was, because I don't think it was said, but there's Denver and Montgomery. And so I'm like, who's the third? What's the third one? So yeah, I don't know.
It'll be revealed in book 2. I think you'll get most of your answers in book 2. There's there's more villains, and yeah, there's more conflict, and so it's more questions that come with that. But
I mean, it's fascinating. It's like, yeah, it's fascinating. So, okay. Now I'm just walking in circles for it. But yeah, so those are my main guesses from what I was putting together. And then again, I've been talking with so many people as I finished it that I've been building more up. And then I was like, well, it's going to be fun. When I get my hardback, that's taking forever to get here, I'm going to go through and highlight all the hints and everything. I got to highlight I have a Kindle Scribe, which I use for arcs that like I know I'm going to write a lot in right away. And I made so many notes in this one.
Yeah. Yay. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that it's given you a lot of thought and made you kind of like think about it. You know, I hear that a lot from readers who have read the first book, is that they're thinking after they finish it, like theorizing, and, just like some people have gone back and reread it just to try to figure out some of the hints and stuff. So I love that. Like, that is my goal as a writer, to write a book that you want to think about and reread over and over. So,
I mean, how could there not be, with so much like time and thought put into this? It's amazing work. So I just love it so much.
thank you. Thank you.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to tell us that I didn't ask you? Because I went off on a tangent there, but
I don't think so. No, I'll be writing. I probably won't be on social media much for the next couple weeks until I finish this.
Right? I got my art date, so I was like, oh, that's when it's coming.
Yeah, I'm pushing. I'll be pushing right up to that. I'm so stressed out. I'll make it. It'll happen. It'll be fine. I'll survive.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap this up. I'll have you wait while I end the live, and then we'll be good there. But thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you go get Hills of Shivers and Shadows, get a cozy blanket, maybe get yourself a drink. You might need it, and just get ready for it. So have a good night, everybody.